Oke. Yes. Selamat siang menjelang sore, teman-teman Puka. Salam literasi dan salam sehat semuanya. Terima kasih sudah bergabung di kanal YouTube Pustaka Kelana 2 untuk episode pertama dari Talk the Walk. Perkenalkan, nama saya Paul. Saya hari ini akan menjadi host untuk perbincangan kita di dalam Talk the Walk. Jadi apa sih Talk the Walk itu? Di dalam Talk the Walk ini kita akan berbincang-bincang dengan beberapa bintang tamu yang memiliki pengalaman segudang lah di bidangnya masing-masing. Jadi teman-teman Puka kami ajak menonton dan menyaksikan supaya kita saling berbagi cerita, berbagi pengalaman. Semoga pengalaman-pengalaman ini dapat menjadi inspirasi kita semua, walaupun di masa yang sulit seperti sekarang, kita terus dapat belajar. Baik, tamu kita yang pertama di Talk the Walk kita sore hari ini adalah Yuta Otake. Ya, Yuta mungkin sudah banyak yang kenal, tapi ada yang belum. Saya perkenalkan sedikit ya. Yuta dulu adalah seorang fellow Rilo di Indonesia. Jadi Yuta adalah seorang dari Amerika, sekarang tinggal di Jepang. Yuta setelah menjadi fellow di Rilo di Indonesia, memutuskan untuk berpetualang, berkeliling ke berbagai kota, ke berbagai pulau untuk berbagi ilmu, mengajar bahasa Inggris, dan juga memberi pelatihan di banyak universitas. Ya, kita akan berbincang-bincang mengenai pengalaman Yuta berkeliling dan mengajar bahasa Inggris ya di banyak kota di Indonesia. Baik, selamat datang bagi teman-teman Puka yang baru bergabung. Sebelum kita mendengar perbincangan kita dengan Yuta, saya ingin mengencourage untuk mendorong teman-teman untuk bertanya. Kalau ada teman-teman pengen bertanya tentang pengalaman Yuta, tentang pengajaran bahasa Inggris, atau tentang Pustaka Kelana, silakan bertanya nanti di live chat Zoom, ya. Sekarang diketik, boleh pakai bahasa Indonesia, boleh pakai bahasa Inggris. Nanti tim kami yang akan menyampaikan. Ya, selama pembicaraan ini silakan langsung ditanya aja. Baik. Baik, tanpa berlama-lama lagi, saya akan memanggil Yuta untuk kita memulai Talk the Walk kita pada hari. Oke, hai Yuta.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
So great
Yuta.
to see you. So great to see you.
Great to see you. Glad to have you here.
Hello, everyone, whoever's out there.
Yes. All right, Yuta, how are you, man? How's life?
Yeah, life is good. A quick story for everyone. So he is the last person I met in Indonesia, actually.
Yeah.
I had to leave Indonesia quickly because of COVID, and so I immediately called you, right, to help me get my suitcase. And you still have all of my stuff.
I still have your helmet. I still have your helmet here.
So yes, it's crazy. 1 year has passed, and I promise I'll come to pick it up eventually.
Last year you said I'll be back in about 2 months, man.
Yeah.
Here we are, a year later.
Here we are. But yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. What about your work now? Now you're in Japan?
Yes. So,
still teaching?
Yeah, basically I had to leave Indonesia and I came to Japan to be at my grandma's house for a while, and then I've continued to stay here, and I'm teaching, of course.
All right. But now, of course, you're teaching online, right?
Yeah, of course. Everything in Indonesia, everything is online, which is very sad.
Same here. Yeah. Well, in the past we have worked together, right? While you were teaching in Indonesia, maybe you can give a little background to our viewers. What were your works before, and then where have you been around Indonesia before?
So my first experience in Indonesia was as an English language fellow. So I spent about 1 year in Palembang.
Palembang, ooh, nice.
Pempet. And so I spent 1 year in Palembang, and then the next year I was moved to Malang. Jatim, Bakso.
Jatim, yay!
Yeah. So those are my 2 years teaching at the university level, doing a lot of teacher training and also teaching at university at UIN. I did UIN Palembang and UIN Malang. So I'm very loyal to UIN.
Yes.
So that was my first experience in Indonesia. And then I left Indonesia to work with Fulbright in Taiwan. But the whole time I was in Taiwan, I was like, oh my God, I have to go back to Indonesia. And yeah, I was like, oh, I have to go back. So I eventually came back on my own. And I just started traveling. My goal was to travel from Sabang to Merauke.
Okay.
Yeah, I had all these great relationships in Indonesia from my time there, including all of you and all of you at UI and everyone from the embassy programs like Camp Epic, Camp SOAR,
yes.
Fulbright, ETAs. So I just used those contacts to keep traveling with one bag across Indonesia.
With one bag?
Yeah, always one bag and one helmet.
All right. So, do you have any favorite stories teaching English in different parts of Indonesia?
Yes, I have a lot, but I think, especially now that I'm in Japan, I think one of the things that makes teaching in Indonesia very unique is that there's not as much of a wall between teachers and students.
Okay.
So, for example, even when I was teaching at UIN, like over vacation, I had a chance to go to everyone's house. Like I went to visit their families all over Java because I love motorcycles. So I had a chance to visit all of my students and their families. Like those things are a little bit difficult to do in America, in Japan, because there's like a lot of, I don't know, there's just a lot of legal things where we have to create this wall.
This wall. Okay.
So I really enjoyed that in Indonesia, where I could connect with students at a more personal level, because I love relationships. Like that's the main reason I like teaching. So
do you still keep in touch with your students in Indonesia?
Of course. Yeah, the power of social media.
Yes.
And WhatsApp.
Cool. WhatsApp, that's easier.
I'm still in a lot of WhatsApp groups, and I don't always read them, but there's a lot. There's always a lot of messages.
Yeah. Right. So you've been here for several years, right? And then I know a lot of students are learning English, and also a little bit of Bahasa Indonesia, right? You know a little bit Bahasa Indonesia. Yep. But have you ever experienced or encountered any miscommunication or any problem with the difference in language between Bahasa Indonesia and English?
I think maybe not always in terms of language, but when you go to a new place, like miscommunication is very natural. Until you kind of understand how that culture navigates and how they communicate. So just to give you an example, like I'll never forget the first time I went to Palembang, it was maybe like my second day. My colleague immediately invited me to her wedding.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So then my natural instinct is I should say yes. So I said yes. And I drove like very far in some unknown place to go to her wedding. And then she was very surprised, and everyone later told me that I wasn't supposed to go. Like this was they were like, oh, like sometimes they're just trying to be polite. You cannot take that invitation too seriously. Yeah. But then like the next day, a colleague invited me to dinner with his family. So I thought, oh, he's just being polite. So I told him I would go, and I didn't go. And then he was mad because he was waiting for me for many hours. But these are the things, like I just couldn't figure out, like, when is someone really inviting me or when are they being polite? I think there's a lot of miscommunication like that when you first arrive. Yeah.
Okay. But do you think like a lot of Indonesians, when they try to speak English to you, do they feel shy, or they're like very confident mostly?
Yeah, luckily, I think because I'm always alone and I'm always in these new places, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
people are pretty confident in terms
Mm.
of because it's like me versus 30 people. So they
Okay.
have the advantage. So I feel like they have,
Mhm.
you know, it's not like 30 foreigners arriving. It's usually just me. So I feel like that makes it less intimidating.
All right. So that's good. You know, so a lot of people are very confident with speaking English. That means, yeah. All
Right,
right.
right.
So Pustaka Kelana, our organization is a non-profit organization focusing on improving literacy through books and reading. Right. Now, in your experience teaching in different cities, different islands, how important is reading, do you think, in learning in your students or in Indonesians young learners improving their English? How crucial do you think reading is?
I think it's so important. I think for me, when I think about my own life,
Mm-hmm.
the stories I read when I was a kid are so important to the way I think right now as an adult.
All right.
And even if I read books now, it's almost too late. Like the books I
Okay.
read now are more just for information at this point.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
the books I read as a kid really shaped my imagination and the way I think. It was just it really does matter. And I think getting those stories into kids is a huge developmental
Yeah.
must. Yeah. Like
And yeah, and nowadays, I mean, I think a lot of young learners now have moved. They read a lot of social media texts. They use social media. But how do you think teachers and schools, or maybe their parents, can encourage their children to read more, like books, like you mentioned before?
yeah, I think the key is to not always obsess with this traditional definition of a book because
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm the same way. I'm old, so like I have trouble absorbing a story from a screen. Like it has
Okay.
to be like
Yeah.
a physical book. Like I love pages. I love, like I like the smell of the book. Like that's just
Yes.
my generation. But it's important for teachers to understand that just because a student is using a phone, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
doesn't mean they're not reading.
Yeah.
It's just a different medium through
Different
which they're
media.
reading. So as long as we understand that and kind of motivate them to engage with these stories
Mhm.
through platforms that they like, I think it really helps.
Yeah. And what do you think about uh, the students in the cities that you have taught? I mean, do you have any activities or do you have any maybe ideas or kind of books that you would like to encourage? Well, should they start with children's book maybe in improving their English
Yeah, I think definitely everything starts with stories. So
stories?
I think like nonfiction gets
Hmm.
more important as we get older. But as
Hmm.
kids, for me, it's all about how we develop that
Yeah.
imagination. And like, I just, I remember so many books that I read when I was 10. Those are the
Hmm.
stories I continue to remember so clearly 20 years later. You know,
Yes.
like it really forms the way I see the storyline and character development. Like, I think that's why stories are so important for kids in particular.
In particular. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Yuta. Anyway, if you have any questions, teman Puka, kalau ada pertanyaan, silahkan disampaikan di live chat. Kita akan sambil ngobrol-ngobrol. Saya sambil cek juga nih, apakah ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan di live chatnya. All right, Yuta, we have a little segment here that we want to go down memory road. We want to look back again from your travels in Indonesia, right? So I see that you have taken a lot of photos and you have posted a lot of your photos in Instagram.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yes. Now we're going to talk about some of the photos. Maybe you can talk a little more about these photos, right?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Let me share screen first. Okay. All right. So the first one that that we have here. Wait a minute, let me. Okay. Yes.
Wow. Awesome.
Do you remember this one?
Yeah, yeah.
This
You're taking me down my memories now. Yeah. So incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So for those of you who probably don't know about Yuta, or probably if you have learned from work with Yuta, you know that this is your favorite pose, right? This is our friend Baina always mentioned. This is the Yuta pose. This is. Do you have any story? Do you have that? Do you have that? You know, because you're like always open up your arms. Do you have any story behind this pose? Is it something special or?
Yeah, this just happened. I don't really know how it started, but
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Indonesia we take a lot of pictures, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was just trying to do something different at the beginning, I think, to keep it exciting. But then it became like a kind of like a trend. So everywhere I went, I started to do it.
You started to do it.
Yeah.
Now a lot of people know Yuta as Yuta the teacher. How do you compare Yuta the teacher and Yuta as the person? I mean, is there any similarity or difference between you in front of people teaching or you outside of the class?
No, I'm pretty much the same person.
Mm-hmm,
I think that's why I enjoy it, and it's not exhausting for me.
Mm-hmm,
like I know a lot of people, they think teaching is so exhausting, but maybe some of that is because they have to play a character.
Okay.
And that can be really exhausting. But for me, to me, like I pretty much act the same way. 24 hours a day. So it just seems so I feel very natural inside a classroom.
Natural, all right.
Yeah.
Now I really like this caption. You mentioned that education needs a space, curious students, and passionate teachers. Can you explain more about this?
Yeah, so this was all initiated by Tari, the girl in the very right, who is an embassy program, Camp Epic student.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, this one of the most exciting things about my journey was just if people had ideas, I would just go with it. Because the motivation was never financial, or I never had a boss. So pretty much if it sounded cool, I would just do it. So yeah, she organized this all on her own. She didn't need like a fancy hotel conference or something like that. She really just took a space in the park, the government.
So this is just a park.
Yeah, this is just completely an outdoor park. And this way we had maybe like 30 students come from around Jambi.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And okay.
It reminded me that like you don't need all these fancy things that we sometimes want, right? Like certificates or snacks or like, because Indonesian workshops always kind of have these expectations.
Yeah.
But what you really just need is a space, right? And people who want to learn.
Yeah. And the students, do you still remember? Because we have, this is like high school students or elementary school.
These in the picture are all different Epic or SOAR students. Yeah, alumni.
Okay.
And then
alumni.
Yeah, so they're not participants, but
no, I mean, what about the participants in this event? Do you still remember
always yeah, that's why it's so fun. Sometimes it would be like a random high school student, but also like a high school teacher. You know,
high school teacher.
So random. That's what I love.
So random. All right. Okay. What about? Okay, let's continue with the next one. Now, this one was in Bali, right? I think.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Yes. Do you still remember about this?
Of course. This was a school in Bali with another embassy program alum. Pebri, yes, from Pebri and Burma, from Camp SOAR. Yes.
Camp SOAR, all right.
Yeah, this was another one of my travels where I went to visit their school. We taught some classes together. We did some chants. We did some songs. Yeah, as usual.
So, and this is very interesting because out of all of the places that I mean, I've seen most of your pictures, but every session in Bali, they wear traditional clothing, right? So, is there a story behind this?
Yeah, so I love one of the things I love in Indonesia is how every city, every school has these different uniforms or different colors, different batik.
Yes.
Yeah, and Bali is especially colorful. This is like 1 day per week. All of the students always wear these. Every week, once a week, they wear these colorful school uniforms.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Now, and you mentioned you've learned from different culture too. How important is understanding the culture of an area before you teach? I mean, do you learn about, okay, so what about the culture in Bali or maybe like in Jambi? Do you do that? Do you try to integrate the local culture in your teaching?
Yes, definitely. But that was pretty difficult when I was traveling, because I was traveling to a different city almost every day. So you kind of just go with the flow. But that's a skill too, like if you travel a lot, you just kind of start to learn how to adapt. You don't even think about it. You're just like you're just kind of adapting.
and usually usually people have this idea, like Indonesian, especially for with foreigners or people from different areas, they're very friendly, they're very happy to welcome you. Do you experience that from city to city? How are the people around?
Yes, and I think that's one of the things I love about Indonesia, and why Indonesia always has like a huge part of my heart, even when I'm away, is it just everywhere you go, people are smiling and helpful, and I think it's important if you return that same energy, it just keeps building. Like we're building something positive together. So that I really love that about Indonesia.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to more photos. We have hey! Shout out with for some of our cool friends here from Medan. Do you remember this handsome gentleman?
Of course. So I think Husni now is actually an access teacher. Yeah. And Abgan is the dandut specialist.
Okay. Now, my question regarding this photo: how much do you miss Soto?
Oh, you can see from my T-shirt, I love soto ayam, and even in Japan, actually, I went like 2 hours into Tokyo just to find an Indonesian restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, but the soto ayam was just it's not the same,
It's not the same.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same. And you mentioned that these these brothers of yours, brothers of us in Medan, they're all teachers now. They're young teachers. How fun is it working or collaborating with young teachers?
Oh, I love it. I think for me, part of being supportive is always making sure that, so for example, if I'm a teacher, one of my jobs is not only to teach my students, but if there are younger teachers, like how do we continue to empower them or put them in positions where they can continue to love teaching. So that was a huge part of my journey. And like even in this picture, you can see Abgan, Izaldi, Husni. Just seeing them teach is so it's so inspiring for me. Like it gives me more energy. And then we traveled to Balige together, to Lake Toba.
Wow.
To do some workshops there together. So just like very random adventures, but it was so special.
Yeah. What would you say to our viewers who, they're probably thinking about teaching but not sure, especially with this current condition? How would you encourage young pre-service teachers to follow their dreams to become a teacher?
Oh, that is a big question.
That is a big question. Do you have any advice, Sal? Like, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think you have to fight. You have to fight through those first tough years. It's really important. It's so difficult at the beginning, and I just remember, even when I first started teaching in New York, like every day you just teach, go home, and sleep, because I did that for like 2 years. It's like sleep, prepare. I mean, sorry, teach, prepare, sleep, teach, prepare, sleep, and so that's tough. But you start to get a hang of it, and that's when it really gets fun. And
okay.
Yeah, these epic students, when they teach, they were so incredible, and I was so happy. Yeah.
I was very lucky too to be able to work with some of them, and then they were very creative. I really and that's true, because seeing them work, and then they give us energy and also ideas teaching. Right. And then you travel far away with them, right? I still remember you mentioned stories. You stayed in one of their houses, or like?
Oh, I stayed everywhere. I stayed wherever possible.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now let's move on. This is one of my favorite one. The next one. This is in Batu Sangkar.
Ah, Batu Sangkar. I see.
I've never been to Batu Sangkar. Maybe for those of us who don't know where Batu Sangkar, maybe you can explain where is this part?
Batu Sangkar is in Sumatra, and
wow, okay.
It's like 3 or 4 hours from Bukit Tinggi.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and this is just another example of like the whole year. If someone contacted me on Instagram, and invited me to their school, I always said yes, even if I never knew that person before. So.
Oh, really? That's how.
This school, I had no contacts. Just some teacher found me on Instagram.
Okay.
And I drove 3 hours on a motorcycle to visit their school. And the students were just so excited. It was just, so incredible.
Now, you mentioned here the 3-hour motorcycle trip through the rain, but it was worth it. What made it worth it, in your opinion? What do you think about this experience? Made it all worth it? 3-hour motorcycle trip through the rain.
In Indonesia, it's always worth it, because what happens is, this is a perspective of a foreigner, right? Maybe for all of you, it's normal, but for me, it's like I'll take a 3-hour trip, and all I see is the rice fields, right? And I'm thinking, like, there's no way. There's a big school here, right? Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. But then you get to the school, and there will be like 1,000 kids, like just just waiting and screaming. So that's something. Yeah, all of those moments are unforgettable, and it was just so inspirational.
Now, this is an interesting question, because a lot of my friends asked me to ask you. Why did you decide to travel? Why not just like stay in one city, like in Jakarta, teach in UI, for example, and then or teach in UIN in Malang, just stay there, and then why decide to travel Sabang to Merauke?
Oh, I think I just have a disease, like people who have it will know what I'm talking about. Like like Ibu Cecilia, I'm sure, has the same disease where you just where you just constantly want to see more things. I can never stop that feeling. And especially while possible, I'm going to always continue to explore. So I have no interest in like having a stable house in one place. It's just not something that I want. All
right. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We have here now a little bit different now to Balikpapan. I think this is quite recent, right? Now you also teach young learners, because you mentioned here creating young leaders who are confident, kind, and open-minded. This is also related to this interesting school. Now,
sure.
Now, Pustaka Kelana also aims to educate and empower, especially young learners, because we work with a lot of children who wants to learn through books and reading, like we mentioned. What do you think needs to be highlighted in improving young learners' interests, especially in learning English?
Yeah, I think so. This picture is a good example, or sorry, this school. This school is called IGS. It's in Balikpapan, and I connected with an access teacher, Indri, to visit that school.
Yeah.
But just to give you an example, like the way they really build that skill set is they're constantly, even like the youngest kids who are 6 or 7 or 8, they're always putting them in positions where the students have to share what they're learning. So even when I went to visit, like they have these young kids. This kid is probably like 8 years old, but they're always training to have the student be able to present what they learn. And like the way you really master what you've learned is by teaching it, right? That's one of the things we're always told. And so these kids they really get passionate about that subject because they know they're going to share what they learned. And I think that's an important step. So it's not just internal, like I read this and then it's over. Like what is the next step?
Yes. All right. Now, a lot of young teachers, or a lot of teachers, including me, sometimes struggle when you have to teach young learners, like very elementary school kids. But you have worked with younger children and then also with high school students, even university level students, also teachers. What's the difference? What's the difference in approach when you have to teach young learners? What's the difference in approach of teaching?
With young learners, I really try to focus on the story angle. I think I said this earlier, but the stories are what capture them immediately, right? It's once you can get them hooked onto a story, then for them, even text, because of course, like a YouTube video at the beginning gets their attention more, right? So we have to find something that battles that. Right. And I think what can really battle that is for them to understand that these words on the page are also similarly creating an entertaining story.
Yes. Exactly. And they're very I guess they're very energetic. They have high energy, especially young girls. Usually they're very excited. And then do you always also like be very energetic in teaching children? Always. But you're always energetic.
Yeah, it's almost one of my weaknesses actually, because I get so happy and energetic that sometimes that only makes the students more excited, and then I have and I have to be like, okay, wait, everyone, calm down.
I understand that. And, all right. Now, this is the next one. This is actually your last post, almost a year ago to the date. This is your last post on Instagram. This is also, I think, in Balikpapan, I guess, or
because basically during my travels, I went through most of Sumatra and Java and
Kalimantan, okay.
But then COVID, so I had to stop. So Kalimantan was my last stop.
You said Kalimantan was your last stop, and before you go to Japan. Now, do you have any plans to travel again in Indonesia after the pandemic is over?
Of course. I told you I have a disease, so I cannot stop.
So for our viewers who hopefully this pandemic ends hopefully tomorrow, but maybe not. But maybe
I don't know about tomorrow.
I don't know about tomorrow, but soon. So, people, if you are interested to learn from Yuta all over Indonesia, so you can just contact you through your Instagram or WhatsApp.
I mean, I'm in Japan now, so I'll need a little bit of time, but yeah.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe they can always contact you through your Instagram. So everyone, if you're interested to follow Yuta and maybe communicate with Yuta, and maybe you want to ask some questions, you can follow Yuta in Travel, Teach, Share. Basically, this is what you do, right? That's your
It's just it's a little sad because basically I only use this to share my Indonesian experiences. So the moment I left Indonesia, I haven't touched Instagram since the day I left.
But people can send message from here,
of course,
right? So
of course.
if you
or if they have questions about English, questions about teaching, I'm always accessible.
Yes, and also don't forget teman Puka, jangan lupa ya untuk juga memfollow kita di Yayasan Pustaka Kelana. Kita ada Instagram dan juga ada Facebooknya. Kami Pustaka Kelana juga sekarang sedang melakukan program untuk literasi. Program literasi kita sedang berkembang. Nanti ada juga kompetisi, ada juga kontes untuk di beberapa minggu ke depan, dan juga nanti untuk informasi mengenai Talk the Walk episode berikutnya. Jadi jangan lupa untuk follow kita di Instagram dan juga di YouTube dan juga di website kita, ya. Silahkan diakses supaya untuk mempelajari lebih banyak tentang Pustaka Kelana. Okay, all right. Thank you, Yuta, for that walk down memory road a little bit. Yay! All right. Now we have some questions. From. Let's do it. We have questions. Let me check. We have the first one from. Wait. From Nandia. Do you remember Nandia? I think we also work together with Nandia from UI2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Nandia asks, do you have any recommendation titles for 7-year-olds, or maybe do you still remember some books that you remember when you were like 10-year-old?
7 is pretty young, so I don't. I can't think of 7 from the top of my head, but definitely the author I recommend most for kids, just from my experience, is Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl, okay.
Yeah, so that's like James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah.
Matilda. All of those. Oh, I read those religiously. Yeah.
Yeah, I read some of those books. I like Matilda. I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory also.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And one thing that really helps in terms of engaging young learners, like even when I taught second grade, it really helps if something exists in, for example, if there's a movie, like you kind of negotiate.
Yeah.
We can read the book and then also watch the movie, and we're getting both done.
Both done. Yeah. All right. Now we also have questions from Zilal Al Furqan. Furqan asks, any recommendation for online reading resources, especially stories for elementary grades, especially because we're now having distance learning?
I have a lot. Hold on. Let me just quickly look through my.
Yeah.
So the first site I read. What is the best way for me to share this? Through the chat?
You can share it. You can share. Is it possible to share screen and you open the page? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You see my browser, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So these are some of the websites I'm using currently right now as I'm teaching a lot of reading. So the Scholastic site. This one's called Story Starters.
Okay.
This is not a reading necessarily, but it's what I use after reading to create stories. It's so cool. So basically, let's say I want to create an adventure. And then, let's say 3rd grade.
Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, so it gives my class like very random prompts to write something.
Oh, wow.
Right? So describe an adventure you might have with a bold insect who returns stolen money. Yeah, and if they don't like it, you can change it. So yeah, this is one site I use a lot. Also, sorry. I really recommend these sites that are completely free. So for everyone listening, ReadWorks.
ReadWorks, okay.
Yeah, if you just sign up as a teacher, everything is free. And
everything is free.
What's really cool about these sites is like it's so easy. So for example, if you want to find grade 1, you can just easily adjust. So on that note, I really recommend. So ReadWorks. I also recommend
Story Starters. Oh
yeah, Read Theory. So I won't go into detail for all of these, but I'll just give you the names, right? So Read Theory, I really recommend. This is like an LMS through which you can track all of your students' reading. So if they don't read, you can tell them that they didn't read.
Okay.
Yeah. Get Epic.
All right.
Camp is also very good. And then let me just give you a couple more. What's the other one I really like is I don't see it here, but everyone should be reading News ELA for sure.
News ELA. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm familiar with News ELA.
Yeah, these are great. So those are just some. There's a lot more, but for now, those are the sites I've been using a lot.
All right. Thank you very much, Yuta. Oh, I'm going to use some of those.
Yeah, anyone can always send me a message and I'll just send you all the links if that was too quick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll put it in the chat. Yeah. And then later we can share it later in our Instagram and our social media. All right. Now we have a question from Rebecca Watimena. Yuta, have you ever found any funny advertisement or public signage or information that has mistranslated English?
Yeah, of course. So many around the world. Everywhere I go, there's always a lot of funny ones.
Do you
know everyone? Paul, what? I don't really know it right now, but you have to recommend Pa Spencer's Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His whole, I don't have it right now, but he has a whole Instagram dedicated to finding that, like finding signs that are incorrect. So Rebecca, definitely check that out.
We are actually going to include Pa Spencer later in our program.
That's good. So you can definitely focus on that.
Yeah. So everyone, please wait on that. Our program later, we're going to talk about this funny mistranslated signage information. All right. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. We have from Nur Hasana. Any recommendation for good novel for Indonesian high school students, especially about friendship? Maybe in English, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Good novels about friendship. That's pretty specific.
Maybe not about friendship first. Maybe while you're thinking, do you have any recommendation for high school students? Any novels or books?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, one thing I really recommend is, hold on, let me also just share another site. So, hold on. There's a website that I'm sending you on the chat right now.
Okay.
Called Common Lit. So this is called
Common Lit.
Yeah. So basically, this is kind of our high school curriculum all laid out. So if you're curious about what high school students in America are reading, everything is there. So for example, you can.
So like this, Common Lit.
Common Lit. Yeah. So we won't go into detail now because we don't want to sign up and stuff. But yeah. So you can just even look at like, what does a 9th grade student read? and it will give you access to so many different titles.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Right now, we have from Chu Eng, I guess. Which part of Indonesia you haven't been to, Yuta, and you look forward to being invited to
Oh
teach?
my God, that is such a good question. Oh man, basically everywhere. But if COVID did not force me to leave, my next step after Kalimantan would have been where was I gonna go? Oh, Sulawesi, and also
Sulawesi.
I already had a plan to go to Lombok and Kupang. Yeah, so basically, I was trying to slowly go east.
To the east.
Yeah, a bit slowly. And eventually Merauke. Yeah.
Merauke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eventually, maybe like 3 years later.
3 years later. So because you've been to Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Java, so now you slowly, actually, you were planning to go to the east, right? Yeah. So yeah, all right. So we have more question.
Cool.
Hanum Rahmi Putri as a question. Do you think that bilingual books confuse children?
Bilingual books would be confusing if they're like completely new, but as long as it's the local language, right? Your first language and the second language that you're learning, I think that's an excellent way to read, excellent resource.
So it won't be confusing in your opinion.
As long as the base language, right, is also your base language. I mean, like, you don't want to have 2 foreign languages at once. That doesn't make sense, right? But yeah.
So that's also fine.
Is this Hanum from Pekanbaru, or is it a different Hanum?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe.
I have a feeling a lot of these people I met before,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Now, from your experience meeting with teachers and working with different schools, do you feel hopeful about the education in Indonesia, especially in English? What makes you hopeful about learning English in Indonesia?
Oh, I felt hopeful almost every day when I was traveling through Indonesia, and I would be lying if I said all the schools are great. I think that, having visited maybe like 400 schools, I cannot say that every school is great, but I can say that almost every school has a teacher that's great.
Okay.
And because often like it's a random teacher, like that one teacher at a school who would message me on Instagram to invite me, and maybe like their school has no interest in me, but all it takes is really that one teacher.
Okay.
Who's real, and you can just see like that teacher cares so much and is so passionate about teaching English and about helping to connect to their school community. And like, for me, if I see that one teacher who's working so hard, I feel very hopeful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about the involvement of parents and encouraging their children to study? What's your experience in this?
So to be honest, parents are something I am not as familiar with, because I generally always worked with teachers or directly, like when I'm visiting a high school, for example.
Okay.
I don't get to the parents, right? So yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure.
But do you think it's important so a lot of people, like parents with children, probably they're too busy, but now with the pandemic they're more involved with their children's education, because they have to stay at home too, right? Yeah. So how would you also encourage the parents here to always encourage their children to keep on studying, especially English?
Yeah, I don't want to give advice, especially because I'm not a parent, so it's hard for me to judge. But all I would say is there's a difficult balance, right? Between like really spending time with your kids, but also, because that's my belief for teachers as well. Like you cannot tell a kid to do something that you yourself don't do. So for example, like you can't tell your student to be curious if you're not always curious, right? Or you cannot tell your students to chase their dreams if you're also not chasing your dreams. And I think the same thing applies to parents. So right now we're talking about reading. Like it's really difficult to tell your kid to read if they know you never read. Right?
Yeah.
So because like that, we're kind of copying modeled behavior. So I think that's my only advice. And this is true for teachers too. We're constantly modeling, right?
Yeah. So it's also important to what you call that. You have to encourage parents also to be more active, to model this active learning to their children, right?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any advice for Indonesian students who probably always think English is intimidating, probably makes them shy? Do you have any advice for our young viewers in learning English?
Yeah. I actually just this month finished this book called Oh wait. I guess I guess it's hard when you're not. Anyway, it's called Atomic Habits. It's called Atomic Habits. And the one takeaway from this book is that if you improve, so statistically speaking, right? If you improve 1% every day, if you improve 1% every day, by the end of the year, you will be 37 times better.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
At that skill. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's always better to do like 5 minutes every day and just never give up and continue to do that 5 minutes instead of like the first day I do 3 hours, but then now I'm tired, so I'm going to take a break for 2 weeks. Like it's really about that, like just the willingness to improve 1% every day.
Okay. So never give up. Always keep improving. Right. Okay. All right. So our time is almost up, Yuta. Do you have any things you want to say to our Indonesian viewers? Maybe to say hi or to.
Yeah. Mainly, I'm just so happy to talk to everyone, and I'm sure a lot of people are the same people who helped me through my whole time in Indonesia was about people being so kind to me and people always helping me. And that's what I remember the most. And I can't wait to hopefully very soon go back to that kind of lifestyle.
That kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. All right. So I really want to say thank you to everyone who has always supported me. And I can't wait to see everyone again in person, not on Zoom.
Yes, of course. All right. Thank you very much, Yuta, for your time and your insights. I want to do a quick shout out to our good friends in Pustaka Kelana also. We've worked with her, Mbak Ina. Mbak Ina is having her graduation ceremony. Yay, congratulations, Mbak Ina. Yay. And also for Ibu Grace from Pustaka Kelana. It's her birthday today.
What?
Yes. So happy birthday, Ibu Grace.
Happy birthday, Ibu Grace. Wow.
We miss working together with you in our teaching in Indonesia. We always talk about Yuta and
then I love your team so much. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
When is Ranti's birthday?
Okay. We have
anyway, happy birthday to all of you. Yeah.
Happy birthday to all of you. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Yuta. Okay. Thank you, Yuta. I'll see you later. And let me close this Talk the Walk episode, the first episode. Baik, terima kasih kepada teman Puka yang sudah menyaksikan Talk the Walk kita pada hari ini, yang sudah bertanya. Terima kasih banyak sudah bertanya. Semoga perbincangan kita pada siang hari ini dapat memberi inspirasi, juga memberi pengetahuan yang baru untuk terus belajar. Seperti kata Yuta, never give up. Ya, walaupun di masa-masa yang sulit seperti sekarang, kita harus selalu belajar. Sekali lagi kepada para viewers kami yang mungkin belum bergabung dengan Pustaka Kelana, jangan lupa untuk follow kami di Instagram dan di Facebook, dan juga silakan cek website kami Yayasan Pustaka Kelana. Ya, untuk di Instagram nanti kita akan melakukan banyak program baru. Ya, kita akan terus mengupdate media kita. Nanti ada episode Talk the Walk berikutnya dengan tamu-tamu yang juga banyak pengalamannya, sehingga kita juga dapat belajar terus. Dan nanti juga ada lomba-lomba kontes yang menarik. Jadi kalau bisa selalu di follow terus, ya, diikuti terus, ya. Sampai jumpa di acara Talk the Walk berikutnya. Salam literasi semuanya dan sehat selalu. Thank you very much, Yuta. I'll see you again later. Bye, man. Whee!